You're listening to the CB Cast, brought to you by Complete Body. To stay up to date, subscribe to our channel on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or you can watch the full episode by subscribing to our YouTube channel, Complete Body Health and Fitness. Okay, welcome back to the CB Cast, everyone. This is episode 5 of our Women's Health series, and today I'm joined by one of our members at CB, Emma Colquhoun. Emma, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
That's good.
So today's episode is going to be a bit of a user experience. So we're just going to have a chat with Emma about her pregnancy, how she went, training leading into it, training coming out of it, and the fact that she's done it twice now, and just get a bit of insight off her, how she's found it. So 2 kids, how old are they?
2 kids, 2 boys. One is 1, my youngest, and then I've got one that's about to turn 3.
Cool. I suppose on the training side of things and just being pregnant and training, how did you find it when, I suppose, first in the gym, the very first time you found out you were pregnant?
So that was when we were over at High Street. We hadn't moved over to Water Street yet. And first time pregnancies, really big deal. Really excited, but also really nervous around it all.
Yeah.
Didn't know how I was going to go coming into training whilst pregnant.
Yeah.
I was training 5 times a week before I found out. And then I hit from week 4 to 6, I was sweet. Everything was going well. I told Ben that I was pregnant early on and just what to be mindful of. And then I hit week 6 and I was just vomiting every day, multiple times a day, around the clock. And that went on for quite a while. So it didn't just go past the first 12 weeks. It went majority of the way through.
Yeah. And how, I suppose it's a pretty big thing. I know, generally, people don't like to tell anyone that early. How did you feel around, I suppose, like you may not have even told your family yet? How did you sort of feel having to tell, not a stranger, but I suppose someone out of your inner sanctum? Yeah,
I remember, like, literally, I think as soon as I found out, I went to training that day and, like, had to whisper to Ben, hey, I'm pregnant, what do I do? Has anything changed? And, it was sort of like, keep it on the down low. Yeah. But this is where I'm at. And he was great. Yeah. But I guess I didn't really want members to know. Yeah. And then I really dropped off. So I was just coming as much as I could, which wasn't much at all compared to what I was doing, and members were starting to go, hey, what's going on?
Where have you been?
Why haven't we seen you? And that stuff was really hard to sort of manage and work around. Yeah,
I suppose when you can't be completely honest, it's a bit tricky, isn't it?
It's hard.
Yeah. And I suppose, like, back to, you say week 6 you got quite ill. Yeah. How, like, just knowing you and how much you train anyway, how did you find that? Like, I'm imagining
really
quite
hard.
Frustrating. Yeah,
it was really, really hard. It was really frustrating. I was so tired. And I didn't, yes, I was pregnant, but to me, I wasn't doing anything. Yeah. And then I had a lot of guilt around, I'm not able to move my body. I'm not able to exercise. It had a massive toll on my mental health, my physical health. But it also taught me really to surrender and just accept this is where we're at the moment. Yeah. You've got to look after you and look after that little one inside and just roll with it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I suppose, in the scheme of things, it's only a short time.
It is.
Yeah.
It feels like forever, but...
yeah. And I suppose the main thing is, too, that you're also looking after yourself, but then there's a little human inside you that you want to take care of, too.
That's right. And even, I remember when on the days I could get there, I was really quite anxious around weights and lifting heavy and what I could and couldn't do. And that probably held me back quite a bit as well. Yeah, okay. Just that lack of insight around, or I felt like, hang on, I'm pregnant now, so does that mean I can't lift what I used to be able to lift? Or do what my body's changing. So how does that work with my technique and, all of those things?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I suppose too, like, I guess from our perspective as, you're in the pregnancy as your hormones change, your body changes. So for anyone listening, I think as you go along and your hormones start to change, your joints actually become a bit lax. So certainly, I guess in that for anyone, doing some weight training is definitely beneficial, but you really have to monitor the load that you're doing. So probably speaking to a coach is the best thing. And it probably depends too, I guess, for anyone out there, where you are in your fitness journey, to begin with. Like, you definitely don't want to continue to push. You certainly have to dial it back a bit, yeah.
And so that ties in, I guess, when I was pregnant the second time, we had just moved over to Water Street, and we changed our programming. So it was quite different from how I was used to training to then how we were, training in our new space. Yeah. So I guess that was very big. Like, we weren't lifting, and doing the types of squats and heavy weights that we were doing at Water. So I guess that was an on top of anxiety around, I haven't done this before properly, let alone how do I do it when I'm pregnant. Yeah, for sure. So definitely. I really needed the coaches in the group sessions and stuff to go, hey, help me with this, or what does this look like?
Yeah, definitely. I suppose around your training when you are pregnant too, I guess your body's going through a lot of changes. The benefits of doing the strength stuff is that probably pre-pregnancy, during the course of pregnancy, the stronger our core can be, our pelvic floor, and even just our postural strength. I guess as the pregnancy goes on, and the baby's getting bigger, our posture starts to change. So things that I guess commonly you can see are like slouched shoulders, arched lower back. So from a coach's point of view, if you can do some modified training and strengthening around your back, hips and that core pelvic floor, it can definitely be a bit beneficial and hopefully help you on the other side.
Definitely.
Yeah. Now, second time were you as sick as the first time?
No.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't as sick the first time.
Sorry, the first time you were or you weren't?
First time I was sick as a dog.
Oh, yeah, second time you weren't. Second
time I wasn't that bad, just the nausea. But that tapered off after 12 to 14 weeks.
Yeah.
But that was the other thing too. So the first trimester, I'd really backed off training. That even though I felt better physically, I was a little bit like, oh, well, if I've had all this time off, can I then just go straight back into training how I was training? Yeah. When I'm in my second trimester. So again, it was like, okay, well, your body's changing again. So how is that going to work with your training? Yeah.
And how, did you feel, I suppose, outside of the gym, did you feel like you had much guidance from many of the
Not when I was pregnant.
Professionals that you were seeing? Yeah.
No, not when I was pregnant at all. And I probably, hindsight's a great thing. And I think after having two of them, what I would have done is had PT during the pregnancies. Yeah. Just to keep on top of that technique and a little bit of strength and just tailoring it to where I was at. Yeah, definitely.
Good to hear you say technique there. Certainly, like talking about the joint, your joints being lax as your hormones change. Like, I guess that could potentially heighten the risk of injury. So being in that really controlled environment where you're monitored by an individual coach would certainly be beneficial. How during your pregnancies did you find working with like your higher heart rate stuff, like your cardio stuff? How was that?
Yes, I was watching that like a hawk on my Apple Watch, making sure I wasn't, because I think it's only 140 beats per minute or something. You shouldn't get it too much higher than that.
Yeah.
So I was really mindful of that, and it didn't take long for me to hit that.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I suppose we sort of like you could. Some people do say 140 or 150, or you could look as a bit of a general rule, whatever level you're at. That's 60 to 70% of like your max heart rate, I guess, prior to pregnancy, but definitely keeping it down for sure. Yeah. So did you find you missed a lot of sessions because of it?
Heaps. I was barely there, really, which was really hard.
Yeah, and was it a challenge? Did you miss them because of, I guess, physically how you felt from the pregnancy, or was it more that you felt you couldn't, I guess, for want of better words, keep up or be at the level of everyone else?
Probably more the first than the second. As long as, for me, during that period, I admired so many women that were able to just train through the whole pregnancy. I just think that's incredible. Yeah. But for me, I just couldn't do it. Yeah. As long as I was finding some form of movement every day, just a walk or some body weight stuff at home, I was happy enough with that. But yeah, it was really hard. Yeah, I think that's a really great thing to note, actually, that, we're all different as people, and not that I've been pregnant, but, from witnessing it and, hearing things that, every pregnancy is so different. Yeah. You can't really pigeonhole it. But yeah, there's absolutely nothing wrong with just looking at the fact of being able to move your body, even if it is just walking, is definitely beneficial. I suppose maybe for your mental health, but then 100% physically. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool. And so let's talk post-pregnancy. So the young fella's being born. So you had C-sections?
Yeah. My first was breech. So we had to have a Caesar for Harry, and then Jack was an emergency Caesar. Yeah,
cool. And how, that's a huge effect on your body. Yeah. I mean, well, any childbirth is a huge effect on your body, but how did you find coming back from that?
So the first C-section, well, obviously I'd never had any major surgery before. It was quite painful. And took I probably felt all right probably after a month or so after having the Caesar. But you're not allowed to go back until, I think you can't have clearance to do any strenuous exercise until 3 months. But my first time, I thought it was only 6.
Oh, wow.
So I went in
6 weeks.
6 weeks, and I thought we were good to go. And I think I went to a women's health physio just before 6 weeks. And they check like your abdominal separation and your pelvic floor and all that type of stuff, and everything was looking good. And then I went for my 6-week checkup with the gynecologist, and he was like, no, you've got to wait another 6 weeks before you can get into any strenuous exercise. It's only walking or yoga or a bit of swimming. And that broke me. I was so ready to get back.
How did you, I mean, I'm sure you're going to touch on it now, but how, probably 2 parts. A, how did it make you feel? But B, I guess from 2 professionals to conflicting answers. How did you handle that?
I was pretty frustrated, I guess. Like a lot, maybe, I guess, in a way it was how I took the information too. Like when I went in with the physio, it was like, yep, your body's looking like it's doing the right things and it's healing really well and it's recovering really well. You should be able to, step it up, but just see how you feel. There wasn't any strict, by this amount of weeks you're cleared. Whereas, the obstetrician was very much like, no, and then he dived more into the surgery and what's actually happened to your body, whereas physio, we didn't really touch a lot on that stuff.
Physio is kind of just looking at, I guess, like the strength and functionality side of it.
Whereas the obstetrician really went into, well, this is what's happened to your body in surgery and this is what it needs to recover. So even though I felt physically ready, deep down, the body hadn't healed completely.
Yeah, because you can't lift anything heavier than your baby for 12 weeks, is that right?
Yeah, and the second time I had a toddler.
Yeah.
So that was really hard.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, I even just know, from my own experience, and probably it's quite an amazing thing just to watch someone go on the whole journey, and I remember just being absolutely blown away, especially when you feel the little kicks that there's actually a human being inside there. It's hat off to women. I don't think they get the credit for what their bodies actually go through. The changes probably prior, let alone giving birth, in which however it happens. Yeah
it's massive. And then you're sort of like, okay, I'm pregnant now, I'll have the baby, and okay, I've had the baby, so now we'll move on to the next thing. And it's not, you're right, like there's not a lot of acknowledgement of how amazing your body has just created a human.
Yeah.
You've birthed it, and then you got to somehow look after yourself and look after this little one that you've just had.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Now, let's say you got to 12 weeks and you want to get back into training.
Yeah.
How did you feel? You've already said that, we were at Water Street then. Our programming had changed and the training was different, and you were, I guess maybe a little bit fearful going back in. Just give us a bit of, an insight into how you felt and getting back into it.
Yeah, so the first time I had lost strength and I had lost my fitness, but I was so keen. I was so keen to get in and move and work my body and feel a bit of pain again and, just push yourself.
Yeah.
So that probably, I wasn't as anxious.
Yeah, okay.
But the second time, it was a lot harder.
Yeah.
So the second time, like I had the boys less than 2 years apart. So that's a massive toll on your body. That's 2 seasons in a short period of time.
Yeah.
I think my body just struggled a lot more the second time.
Yeah.
So I had to be a lot more gentler.
Yeah.
And I probably, looking back, got back to where I was before I had my first in terms of my strength and fitness. So then you sort of push back even further.
A little bit behind the 8 ball.
Yeah. And I was probably a lot more anxious.
Yeah.
Going, because I could physically feel it. Like I was not where I had been in quite a while.
Yeah.
And also I had 2 kids then to look after. I didn't have the downtime like I had with my first.
Yeah, definitely.
Sleep wasn't as great. So it probably took me 4 months until I was able to get properly back into training.
Yeah, okay. I suppose it's the flip side that, probably doesn't get talked about too. Like, it's one thing to be able to physically rock up and do the training, but like you said, you had a baby and a toddler at home. I think, from being in a household with kids, just the stress and it's like the lack of sleep is massive. I think
wrecks you.
Yeah, I remember a mate saying to me that, everyone talks about a newborn and like no sleep, but then he's like, you've never heard anyone tell you about wait till they're teething. Like, it's worse, like your newborn sleeps well. So there's a lot of factors that get thrown into, especially then like yourself, if you want to train at 5 a.m. How did you find that? Like getting up to get motivated if maybe you haven't slept much through the night?
Yeah, it was hard, hey? Like, it was hard. But for me, I go by you control the morning or the morning controls you.
Yeah.
So even if I had a pretty rough night with the boys, I knew, 1, what's an hour less sleep to what I've already haven't had.
Yeah.
And 2, that's sometimes the only time I get to myself.
Yeah.
And it's the only connection I have with other adults.
Yeah.
When I'm at home with the boys all day. So to me, that outweighed an hour more sleep majority of the time.
Yeah. So obviously it meant a lot.
Yeah.
To you more
100%.
than just the physical side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, if you've had a week of really, really shocking sleep.
Yeah.
you've got to listen to your body then too.
Yeah.
You know, what do you prioritise? And sleep is massive, has a massive impact on your mental health as well.
Yeah.
But for me, majority of the time, I knew I would never, ever regret getting up and going to the gym in the morning.
Yeah, definitely. It's the old cliche saying, isn't it? Like, no one ever regretted a workout.
No.
But I suppose too, for anyone out there, it's, you know, a workout doesn't have to mean the gym either. Like, it could be as simple as just getting up and going for a walk, just moving your body for that mental
definitely
side of it, hey?
Even if, like, we had a really rough night and I knew that getting up at 4:30 was just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Getting up at 5:30 and walking for half an hour or going for a run, that's better than nothing.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's that social connection also at the gym. That
that's massive. Yeah, definitely. It, talking to children only goes so far.
It really does.
I suppose, especially when they can't talk back.
Exactly.
Sometimes that might be better.
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess, did you do PT then? You said? No, you didn't do PT then.
I did started PT with Zach a little while ago, and that was purely because he was the one actually that picked up how poor my squats were, and you know, after having the two, I'd lost a lot of core strength and glutes, so we just worked primarily on that, and that's made a world of difference. Yeah,
cool. And how did you feel around, so you went to the women's health physio, did you feel like, I guess, her diagnosis of like you being able to get back into it was good and you felt comfortable, I guess, with her blessing?
Yeah, I didn't go to a women's health physio the second time. Yeah. Because I wouldn't have been out. Like, I knew, I guess I couldn't. I had to wait. For 3 months. But yeah, I definitely. She was more like, okay, well, from what I can see, you're ready to go. Yeah. And then I just had to go with my gut. Yeah,
cool. I suppose too, after you've been through the process once before, you probably knew all the pelvic floor stuff and everything to be doing anyway. Yeah, cool. So I guess like a little bit of advice from you for anyone having a baby, thinking about having a baby, who's had a baby.
Look, hindsight's a great thing, but for me, if I was to do it all again, I would just surrender to wherever your body's at and, you know, acknowledging that and not comparing your pregnancy or your birth or your post-recovery to any other person. Yeah. And just being more in touch with my body, I guess. Yeah, okay. But also, what probably would have helped the recovery more and getting back in would have been PT. Yeah. Even if I could just get there once a week and we could just work on a few things throughout. Yeah. I think that would have, one, helped physically, but also helped that anxiety stepping back in. Yeah.
Do you feel like there's a bit of a, I suppose, like lack of pressure maybe, like doing PT because you're the only one there, so it's really tailored to you?
Yeah, I would have felt safer. Yeah. And I would, like, not that I don't at doing group work, but sometimes there's 25 people in the class and there's a couple of coaches and they're getting around to everyone, but I probably at that point when I was pregnant wanted that one-on-one. Yeah. Just because of where I was at.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, definitely. I suppose if you're feeling a little bit vulnerable in it, it's definitely worth having that one-on-one stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, thanks so much for coming on.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, pleasure. And just from us, guys, if you are pregnant in the gym or you're thinking about having a baby or you're coming back from having a baby, make sure you always speak to the coaches or feel free to reach out to myself or Ben. We definitely need to look at modifying your training so that it's safe and you're getting what you need. Okay, so I hope that you've enjoyed listening to Emma's story. It's always good to hear, I feel, from someone who's been through it and learn from other people.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Emma. We'll see everyone again soon.
Bye.